This happens occasionally where you go to put your gauge. This is a brand new tank of refrigerant that I'm topping off their charge on, and when I go to put my gauges on there, it stops, it bottoms out, it's not threading in all the way. So it's funny because this guy Leslie sent me this, and it's a tool to fix the threads. FalconThreadFixer.com I believe is his website, but he sent it to me. I didn't buy it, but I'm gonna basically get on there right now and wrench it on, and then it should clean up the threads. Yeah, it's already going. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that worked wonders, man. FalconThreadFixer.com.
This video is brought to you by SPORLAN. Quality, integrity, and tradition.
How's your morning going? I woke up this morning, had a scheduled job, got up at 4 a.m. to be on site at 6 a.m. 3 new OmniTemp evaporator coils to install, scheduled it, had the customer clean out the box, do all that stuff. This is a big giant unit, had 3 guys show up, and the customer didn't show up. So yeah, we got to put all of our stuff back in our vans, and of course we're going to charge them for the time, but it's still frustrating that we got up that early for nothing. All right, it's about 5 in the morning. We're doing an early start this morning because, what is going on here? Oh, just panels for this. We've got a set of cook drawers. It's a 10 drawer lineup that we've got to change evaporator coils in. So this is gonna be a fun morning. Got a couple other people meeting me here. I always get here a little bit early and try to get the job ready and stuff. So everybody's gonna be here in about 45 minutes. So. All right, this is my compressor right here. System D as in David. We're gonna get it pumped down, so we're just gonna shut off the refrigerant flow at the receiver and store all the refrigerant in the receiver. It looks like we came just in time because that sight glass is flashing. The reason why we're changing these coils is because they have leaks in them. So, yeah. So anyways, we're gonna pump it down real quick, and then we're gonna get downstairs and start disassembling and seeing what we can get changed out. When it's super late, man, it's nights like this that backlit LCD really makes a difference. Helps it so you can see better. So we're pumping it down. The head pressure is rising, but I've also am bypassing the condenser right now. This is a really bad rack design, so we're just letting it pump the refrigerant all the way down. So all that I did was front seated the king valve, so push the king valve all the way in, and the compressor continues to run, and it stops the refrigerant leaving. So the refrigerant's no longer running through the dryer, and that's emptying out. And then it's just gonna run and run and run until the low pressure gets low enough that the low pressure control is gonna cut it out. So we're just waiting for that. And I also went downstairs and all the drawers are open, so it's calling right now. So it looks like we're about to pump down here in a sec. And then what we'll do is pull our low side off and let it vent to atmosphere. That way it'll relieve the pressure in the system as we're brazing downstairs, changing the coils. We might have a problem here. As I'm pumping it down, it shut off, but look at my suction pressure coming up to 50 PSI. There's no reason for that. We might have a weak suction valve or a reed that's weak in this thing, letting the refrigerant bleed by. I'm gonna try a couple more pump downs and see it, but it shouldn't be coming up to 55 PSI. So we might have a bigger problem here. So what we've got is coils. We've got 5 coils. 3, 4, and 5 have leaks. So we have new OmniTemp coils to go on all of them. It's a little tricky though because the electrical and refrigeration lines are going out the back. So we gotta hope we can make that work within this coil. Okay, cool, shouldn't be a problem. What I'll end up doing, I might even use the same backing plate from that coil since the hole's already drilled. We'll just take it off the back, take this one off, 90 those out the back. Yeah, okay. This is good, this is good. I can work with this. So we got 3 people going on here, but we got 1 coil out. I've took the rivets out the top. I'm gonna put this back plate on there, that way the holes are drilled, and then we'll fish it back on there. Man, a lot of back and forth, but I'm getting ready to braze them right now. It is super tight going back in here, nothing lined up as usual, but we're getting there. So I'm gonna braze this guy in. We'll put a wet towel over that sensing bulb, and then and have to jump on the next coil. All right, so we got all the coils in. We're working on sealing them up. We got to seal those holes in the back because they were never sealed from the beginning. This one I just finished, and we just finished this one over here too. So we're just doing the electrical. I'm going up top now. Gonna start on the dryer and then check on that compressor. All right, there's daylight outside now, so we can see a little bit better. Got vacuum pump. We still have pressure in the system, so got 108 PSI on the high side, so it doesn't look like the compressor has a weak read after all. It would have leaked out if it did. So we're gonna get an evacuation going now. It's not gonna be a perfect vacuum. We're gonna be pulling, you know, through the gauges and stuff, but this is a pump down system, so I really don't see the need to go all crazy on this. So also got a new SPORLAN catch-all dryer right there. We're gonna put that on. The cool thing is because I used flare fittings last time, I don't have to bring my torches up here, so I love using flares on the dryers for that reason. All right, got a little NYLOG here. So what we're gonna do, I shut off the rack for a few minutes, is take a little bit of NYLOG, loosen this up, and it's literally just gonna go right here where it spins, okay? So that way the flare nut is lubricated. It doesn't take much, just the tiniest bit. Just kind of work it into it like that. And then we'll have to clean it off when we're done. We'll do the same thing on this one down here. And then we'll put a drop of NYLOG. Doesn't take much, like that and like that on there for the threads. And then we'll tighten it on. We got the manifold hooked up, got the dryer installed. We're using the VPX7 vacuum pump. Now this is overkill for what I'm doing because it's a 10 CFM, but you know, this is just a pump down system. The cool thing about this pump though is that it's their lightest pump. I say this all the time, but people, the reason why I explain all this stuff in my videos is because the comments and the questions that I get. So if I don't explain it, then I'm gonna get the comments and have to explain it in there. So I try to eliminate that. So the dryer, this particular dryer has been truck raped, meaning that it's been rolling around in the van, but it had the caps on it still, and they were still the original seal. So you can't read the writing. But the really cool thing about the SPORLAN catch-all is they have it stamped in, so you know, even if the writing's worn out, if it's in the right direction. So the sight glass, the SPORLAN seal there's nothing wrong with it. It was in good shape. I've got it all tightened on. I still need to clean up some NYLOG and stuff, but we're gonna get the evacuation running now. All right, so here's what I found. I believe it wasn't the compressor valve that was leaking earlier. I believe it's actually the king valve for the receiver. When I got up here, first thing I noticed, when we shut everything off, the solenoid valves closed downstairs, right? But I came up here, when I went to go change the dryer, there was a lot of gas when I undid those flare nuts. And then what happened was I was evacuating on the system before my guys turned on the power. And then all of a sudden, my pressure rose way high. I was down to like 700 microns. But then once we open that solenoid valve down there, all of a sudden it rose really, really high. Now it's always a possibility that it's leaking on one of my flare connections, but I doubt it. I think that king valve is leaking slightly, and that's probably what was happening. So I actually have them turning off the breaker right now, and I want to see if it starts to drop in evacuation, because then we know that if there is a leak, we know that the problem is right there. See, I think what it's doing right now is I think it's sucking the refrigerant out of that receiver. So we'll see here in a minute once they turn off the breaker. So yeah, they just shut that breaker off. I could tell because it dropped significantly really quick, and then it's slowly dropping now as it's going to catch up. So I'm pretty confident that it's leaking at that king valve right there. All right, we're getting ready to turn on right now. We're waiting for it to come up to where the suction pressure kicks the compressor on. We're definitely going to be low on charge too, because it was flashing when I got here this morning. So let's see what happens here. About to turn on here. Let's see, we have it set to cut in at about 40 PSI. There we go. And it's definitely gonna be low. All right, I'm gonna go get some gas. We're gonna get this guy topped off. Yeah, it's just gonna short cycle right now. When you're adding refrigerant, you still want to be careful. Modern compressors can handle liquid much better than older ones, but still want to go slow, a little bit at a time. So I've already purged. I've got some 404. We purged it all the way up. We're just adding it into the low side as the system's running. We're looking for a clear sight glass, but it does have a head pressure control valve back there, so we are going to have to fill the receiver up to the 3/4 mark. This happens occasionally where you go to put your gauge. This is a brand new tank of refrigerant that I'm topping off the charge on, and when I go to put my gauges on there, it stops, it bottoms out, it's not threading in all the way. So it's funny because this guy Leslie sent me this, and it's a tool to fix the threads. FalconThreadFixer.com, I believe, is his website, but he sent it to me. I didn't buy it. But I'm gonna basically get on there right now and wrench it on, and then it should clean up the threads. Yeah, it's already going. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that worked wonders, man. FalconThreadFixer.com. Really, really cool. And I believe he has another website, MarketServiceTech.com too. But yeah, really, really cool. I'll make sure I put a link in the show notes for the video. Cool little thing to have on your van. All right, our sight glass just cleared. Let's get in here, down there. All right, so now we've got to add extra refrigerant for the head pressure control valve. So we know the head pressure control valve is not bypassing at the moment because the cut-in pressure is 200 or 180 psi. So we'll go ahead and pump down the receiver, check the liquid level, and then we'll fill it up to the 3/4 mark. All right, we can see the liquid level in the receiver is right about here. I'd say that's right about the 3/4 mark. I'm pretty comfortable with that. We'll go ahead and mark the receiver, and then we know we have enough gas in it.
Man, that is frustrating when the customer doesn't show up. It happens from time to time. And I mean, you know, life happens. Things, you know, people make mistakes, people forget about things. But, you know, I have to charge them for my time. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, we're a business. We're here to make money, and we can't operate our business not making money. So, you know, the most important thing that I do is when I schedule things, I make sure that I, as best as possible, try to talk to the person that's actually going to be opening up. I usually give them a warning ahead of time. So in this situation, the first time I scheduled this, I told them about 2 weeks before I was going to do the job when we were going to be getting the coils. And then I said tentatively it was going to be that week. And then the night before, I called them and said, hey, we're going to be here this day. You know, we want to come in at this time. Can you guys be here? They approved it. You know, and the interesting thing was they even emptied out the box for us. So when we called and scheduled everything, we said, hey, we're going to be in on this day. You know, who's the person that's going to be there? You know, they confirmed it. And then we said, can you please empty out the box for us, have all the food out of it, have the, you know, it cleaned out and all that stuff. So they did all that stuff, but just the person didn't show up. So that proves that, you know, they listened to us, and we have documentation showing this. We even sent them an email. So, you know, we cover our butts, and it's still frustrating, you know, and life happens, things happen, people forget, you know, whatever. But like I said, we still have to charge for our time, you know? So we rescheduled. It was a couple weeks later. We went back out there. The way that I run jobs is when I'm on a job, I usually schedule all my guys to show up usually about 45 minutes to a half an hour after myself. So I like to get to the job. That's just how I've always done it. I like to get things prepped, get the system pumped down, kind of inspect how I want to run the job, how I want it done. And then I have my help show up, and then we kind of discuss the game plan, you know, and then we attack the job. You know, I've always done it that way, even before I was an owner. You know, when I was just the lead, I would always attack jobs that way because I take ownership. You know, when I'm running a job, I'm running it. You know, I have a plan. This is how we're going to do it. And I'm open to feedback, but I've already got a plan. This is how we're going to go. So, you know, we did this job. I kind of had some hunches that it was going to be a little difficult changing the coils. You know, I was not the person that condemned the coils, so I did not know what the piping arrangement was going to be going into the job. So that's why, again, like I like to get there early just to kind of get my eyes on it and, you know, be able to formulate a plan before everybody shows up and asking me what to do. And I'm like, you know, trying to figure it out when they're on site. So, but it all went pretty smooth. You know, it's important that when you walk up to this equipment, in this situation, I was thinking, hey, wait a minute, something was wrong. When I went to go pump it down, when it shut off, boom, the pressure shot up to 50-something PSI and was slightly rising even more. I was initially concerned that I had a compressor issue, but after a few more pump downs, it kind of calmed down. It still wasn't perfect. So it must have just been refrigerant boiling out of the oil, is my thought. Initially is what I was thinking. But then, you know, when I came back up to change the dryer and do the evacuation, we had the system shut down, the liquid line solenoid shut down, and there was a lot of refrigerant trapped before the liquid line solenoid valve, because when I went to go undo the flare nuts on the dryer, there was a lot of gas that came out. So that kind of made me think maybe the king valve on the receiver was actually leaking. So it's so important to understand sequence of operation, understand what you're doing, so that way you can, identify problems and potentially know, hey, this might be an issue. This is what's going on. Okay. But all in all, the job went fine. This was done probably 3 weeks ago, I think, and it is now January 1st of 2022. Happy New Year, by the way. I hope this new year brings better luck for everybody. I mean, some people may have been fine in the last 2 years, but they've definitely been chaotic for me. So I'm hoping for a happy new year. I'm hoping for a better year. I wish you and yours the same. And that's pretty much it. I really, really appreciate you guys. Remember that I try to do live streams Monday evenings, 5 p.m. Pacific on YouTube. I also go live on the HVAC Overtime channel with my buddies, Adam, Joe, and Bill, on the HVAC Overtime channel on Friday evenings, about 6:05 p.m. Pacific time. We just kind of relax, talk about the week, recap things. Sometimes we have special guests. This last week on the New Year's Eve show, we actually had Big Clive on, and that was really cool being able to talk to Clive. Clive's a good friend of the show, and he's a very smart dude, so it was really cool to be able to talk to him about that stuff. So definitely check those two things out. Remember to try to check out my website if you guys are interested, hvacrvideos.com. We got merchandise available on there. It's just a great way to help support the channel. We also have a couple different methods that you can support the channel in the show notes: PayPal, Patreon, YouTube channel memberships. Just great little ways that you guys can help support the channel if you'd like to do. So I really appreciate you guys, and we will catch you on the next one, okay?